Recently, in the gaming community, there's this phenomenon of difficult games. And the first thing that comes to people's minds are usually games like Dark Souls, Ninja Gaiden, or Pokemon Go. Because it actually requires you to go outside, and if you are unlucky enough, even deal with real human beings. At least ease us into this shit. Difficult games were prevalent in the earlier days of gaming. It's just back then they weren't called difficult games, they were simply called games. And there was no distinction between hardcore gamers and, excuse my language, fucking casuals. And one of the most unforgiving and nerve-wracking games I have ever played was Commandos, Behind Enemy Lines. It's a tactical game about a British group of commandos whose delightful tea time is interrupted by an ancient being of great power who offers them a last-minute vacation on the Norwegian coast. But the twist is, Norway is ridden with Nazi soldiers and now we have to deal with them by exploding some important stuff I would know more about if I bothered to open a history book. It's set in the 40s when, you know what happened. Cheerios were invented, and they changed the world as we know it. And you know what also changed the world back then? World War II. Only 90s kids remember this! As a special operations unit, we help Allied forces push German armies out of occupied Europe and Africa. Usually it involves blowing up a radio station, a bridge, a cannon, or escorting a rescued prisoner. Sometimes we need to capture an enemy car and quietly leave the area. Unless it's a fucking tank, then we can mow our enemies down like a bunch of psychopaths. Every mission we get 2 to 6 commandos, each one with a different set of skills. The Green Beret, the Sniper, the Marine, the Driver, the Sapper, and the Spy. The Green Beret is basically responsible for all the infiltration and murder! He can climb on the walls, carry heavy objects, use some kind of a distraction device and can bury himself in the snow, if it's Norway, sand, if it's Libya, and croissants, if it's France. The Marine is responsible for diving underwater, helping the others traverse rivers with his inflatable boat, and running very slowly. The Spy can dress up as a Nazi officer and distract the soldiers by talking to them about bratwurst and Hitler's mustache. And all that not only because he is a British special agent, but also because he's French? Makes sense to me. The Sapper blows shit up and sends napalm-drenched love letters to Michael Bay. The Sniper's job is to boom headshot! I can dance all day! I can dance all day! Try hit me! Come on! And sound like a little boy!
Yes. Okay.
And the driver is Ryan Gosling. He drives. As you can see, the characters aren't really well balanced. It often happens that the Green Beret and the Spy do most of the work, killing almost everyone on the map, while the rest of the team just waits around for the all clear. So they just sit in the bushes playing League of Legends. Oh wait, in the 40s there was no League of Legends, so they sit in the bushes playing Quake 3 Arena. And the worst part is when you start a mission and you see, oh no, I've got the driver. Because that means there will be some driving in the mission. And this is basically the only thing that the driver can do. And what's more, none of the other commandos can drive, which I think is ridiculous. I understand not being able to drive a tank or a submarine, but every commando should know how to drive a simple-ass car. It's like Solid Snake calling for a helicopter ride just because he can't get onto a fucking scooter. And what's even worse is, driving in this game is just broken. The vehicle control is horrible. Taking turns with a massive delay and even not being able to start. It's like driving off-road while trying to defend your testicles from being bitten off by a moderately agitated monkey. I fucking hate this driver, piece of shit! Oh, and also, only the Green Beret and the Spy can move bodies. What the fuck? How hard is it to move a dead body? You just grab it by the foot and pull! You can also chop it up into little pieces so they will be less heavy. Then you can easily dump them in the river or sell them to a local... See how easy that is? And don't ask how I know that, I am sure there's a WikiHow for it. So, when we are on the mission, we have to use our commandos appropriately and synchronize their actions, which requires a lot of studying of enemies' patrol routes and memorizing their movement patterns. This is very tough, because you need to pay attention to multiple soldiers at the same time, and the window of opportunity for you to act is usually very, very short, and gives you pretty much no margin of error. Yes, it is quite unforgiving, especially when you end up spending most of your time figuring out how you are going to complete the mission, what order you have to complete your objectives in, and how you will place your commandos. And to make progress, you have to coordinate your team members. And it's hard to get the timing right when there is no active pause. And you don't want to be discovered. Well, you absolutely must not be discovered, because in open combat there's usually a slight chance that you could get shot. Just kidding! You are completely fucked and you will die in 2 seconds! And when you cause an alarm, it intensifies the patrols and more soldiers come out of their barracks. The level design is smart enough to force you into difficult decisions. Sometimes you might need to get rid of an enemy patrol in one place, but that means that later you will have to deal with more enemy soldiers. It requires a lot of long-term planning and weighing up the pros and cons, and analyzing the consequences of each choice. And that's good! That's great! It's really fucking difficult! And there's another flaw I have to point out. In different missions, soldiers react differently to different things, you know what I mean? Like their alertness is not always at the same level. Like for example, one soldier sees a giant pile of dead bodies with a British flag stuck next to it and a plate of delicious Warburton crumpets, and he is like, "Oh, they must be taking a nap together." But sometimes they're just walking around, and as soon as they see a pile of misplaced fucking dirt, they're like, "Och mein Gott! Alarm! Alarm! Code Red! Code Red! Bring out the panzers! Call der Führer! Und tell him, I have forgotten that the Sauerbraten is rotten!" And yes, one small mistake can make all the alarms go off. Also, one last stupid thing. Usually to stay out of soldiers' sight, you need to crawl. You can check their line of sight. The light green area is where you are always noticed immediately, and in the darker one you are only visible when you are standing up. So you can safely crawl through those dark green areas, and you usually do, 95% of the time. However, in Mission 17 you have to rescue some prisoners. Guess why this sucks hairy donkey balls? This mission would normally be a piece of cake, but the developers just had to go and ruin everything. Seriously, just guess what they did. Okay, time's up. The prisoners can't crawl! Yeah. In the game where you need to crawl to avoid being detected by all those enemies, these little shits cannot crawl! It's like playing an Assassin's Creed game as a guy who has no arms! Or a Grand Theft Auto game as a blind 8-year-old grandma in a wheelchair. So now let's sum it up a bit, because I don't want to sound like a whiny bitch. So you better get your ass to GOG.com or Steam and buy this game. There is a reason it's considered a cult classic and a true pearl of tactical gaming. It has really clever level design and presents some great challenge. And yes, the game is hard as fuck! Sometimes because of some stupid shit, but mostly thanks to the great level design. And nothing beats the satisfaction of finally finishing a difficult mission. Not even catching a water wiggly. And yes, I did use cheats once, or twice, or like 17 times because I didn't feel like repeating the entire mission, but it keeps you in and you want to get back to it every day. And there's also some learning value for you history buffs out there. Also, when you have problems because of some glitches, well, we won't fix it, but welcome to the 90s, you can do it, we believe in you. So I really enjoyed this tactical game, despite it being quite frustrating, but that's because I like pain. And that's why I have Tanzanian Anubis baboon biting on my ball. Wait, what? Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. You can also check out these other videos. This one is about Fallout. I think it's pretty cool. Also, you can check out this one. It's about whatever. Also, like and comment. Every like is another driving lesson for the entire Commando team. And if we reach 20 likes, nothing will happen, but I'll be very happy. Now off to kill myself.